Never. 86% of the registered Liberal voters who cast a ballot supported him. It was never in doubt. What was most remarkable about listening to Mark Carney's speech was how he's framed the next election. He mentioned Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party of Canada, in passing, compared to the repeated references to Donald Trump. In my lifetime, I've never seen a Canadian election played out where the main opponent is the president of what was once Canada's most trusted ally, the United States.
This is remarkable, isn't it? Because Mark Carney, he's actually previously referred to comments of Donald Trump. He says he's almost like a Voldemort character where these comments are not to be named. And now he's almost going to have to consolidate relationships again with their traditionally closest neighbor. How do we envisage him doing that when the rhetoric is so heightened?
Yeah, and to be sure, Mark Carney also characterized the Trump tariffs as bullying tactics. That's a great point. We'll have to see what Donald Trump posts on Truth Social within a few hours. I think what needs to happen is that the two men have to meet as soon as possible. That Mark Carney and Donald Trump have to have a meeting. I would presume that would start in a virtual sense, but I'm sure that Trump is not pleased at what he's hearing from Mark Carney. He hasn't really referenced Mark Carney at all. He's taken shots at Chrystia Freeland, who placed second in tonight's ballot, the former deputy prime minister, and he's also criticized Pierre Poilievre, the conservative leader, as not being a MAGA guy. I'm not sure what name Donald Trump is going to give Mark Carney, but it's probably not going to be very flattering after listening to the speech.
Well, Mark Carney is a businessman after all. He doesn't actually have that much of a background in politics. Is that going to play in his favor in terms of possible negotiations with the United States on tariffs, or also going into the general elections?
I think that's a great point. That much like Donald Trump had no electoral experience before he became president, Mark Carney has no electoral experience before becoming prime minister later this week. He comes from the world of business, as does Donald Trump. So perhaps there's some affinity there that they may be able to speak the same language. But again, Donald Trump is a unique character. So it's hard to say what impact this will have on his rhetoric about annexing Canada. Over the last couple of hours, we heard from the outgoing Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, and most particularly about a past Prime Minister, Jean Chrétien, who led 3 consecutive majority governments from 1993 to 2003, 91 years old. And he said, from one old guy to another old guy, talk of annexation is nonsense. So whether Mr. Carney is able to persuade Donald Trump to dial back that rhetoric and have an adult conversation about the trade between the two countries and scale back the constant threats of tariffs, because Canada is not going to back down. And we're going to see the rhetoric just amp up over the next month once we're into election mode.